I guess for my definition of trance is that trance, it makes you feel like you are on a beautiful journey that's very soothing. Sometimes can take you to very psychedelic places or just the most relaxing place that you can think of. And I really love the synthness of trance. I love synth.
Welcome to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion, and we're in for a pretty good treat today. We're here joined by our guest.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you very much for joining us. It's an immense pleasure to get to meet you. What are you known for, and how'd you get started with
You.
everything?
Well, I'm mainly known for DJing in VR. I do make a few content in VR as well, such as memes or just kind of exploring different worlds.
Hmm. Wow. How'd you get into? Well, let's start from the beginning. How did you get into VR or VR chat, and wh- what made you want to decide to put on the 5 pound electric potato on your face?
I started off as a desktop user, and eventually I kind of just was like, I want to try the VR thing. Um, I really wanted to go to one of my first shows in VR. The show that I went to, like one of my first shows I went to was Everfest,
Okay.
and I really wanted to be on VR, so I got the headset, went on, saw the show, and from there I kind of just fell in love with VR chat.
Oh, wow. So from the beginning, what got you into DJing and what made you want to continue doing it this long?
Well, I'm already a music producer, and DJing kind of seemed like a really fun thing to do in VR, so I wanted to try it, especially since I am disabled, so I can't really go outside. So it would be really hard for me to start DJing IRL, so VR kind of gave me that opportunity to start doing it.
Hmm. Wow. So you mentioned you produce music. What made you start doing that?
I really love creating music, especially when it expresses a certain emotion that I'm feeling that I'm really not able to express IRL.
Hmm. Oh, so did you play music or produce music your whole life, or at what point made you want to pick it up?
Uh, yes, I've been playing music for most of my life. I started off playing with violin and trombone in elementary school, and then eventually went off to playing the upright bass in high school, and went really far with that. Started to kind of pick up digital music towards my like earlier 20s, and I've just been sticking with that ever since.
Oh, wow. So from like band to classical traditional music into electronic music, what made that hard switch from one to the other?
Um, I think by time when I started playing the upright bass, I started to really like playing other songs that had bass in it and trying to transcribe different songs into into being able to play an upright bass was so fun. So on top of that, I always just kind of had a love for like electronic music and especially trance and I can't remember my brain stuttering.
It's okay.
Uh Trance and I forgot the other genre. Wow.
It's all right. Take your time.
Wow.
I'll ask
Oh,
I can ask you another question. It's no big deal if you don't remember it.
okay.
Um, did having that classical music background have any added benefit to producing electronic music? If so, what was it?
I don't necessarily say it kind of did have an influence with it, but it did help me learn how to play certain instruments. So when I did switch from physical instrument to digital, it kind of made it a little easier.
Okay. May I ask how so it made it easier? Because I don't play instruments, so I'm basically living a bit ambiguously through you in that sense.
Um, I guess it became easier by finding the right instrument to play. Like, it doesn't really limit to you to which instrument that you can play, because usually when you own an instrument, you can only produce the type of sounds with that said instrument. With
Mm,
digitally, you have such a large and extensive library of instruments that you can create all kinds of sounds.
mm. So, how long did it take you to make your first track, and what were there any inspirations for that track specifically?
Um, let's see. Started kind of messing around with like GarageBand in middle school. It took me quite a few hours to figure it out, but when my actual later on adult life, a lot of the music that I would create was like 16 minutes, 18 minutes. It was really long,
Mm,
and over time I just slowly kind of learned. I'm very self-taught, so it could take me from about a few weeks to learn something new to a few months to learn something.
okay. So, did you ever get a chance? What was the? Did you the words? Did you ever get a chance to play any of your produced track for other people, or was VR that first time you did?
I have actually played a few shows in VR, and I a lot of the times, depending on the theme, I will throw in my own music that I've performed and created along with my mixes.
Mm, okay. What made you want to DJ the first time? Like, what made you want to pick up the deck, bowl, want to say, and stand on stage for people?
Um, I'm not really sure. It just seemed like a really fun thing to do, and it was new to me. So I kind of wanted to give myself a challenge to see if I could do it. But in the times that I ended up picking it up and learning it, I started to really like it and wanted to do it more.
Hmm. What about that experience made you enjoy it, may I ask?
Um, there's some type of thrill when you're in the middle of mixing music live that just gets your adrenaline going. That
Hmm.
feels great.
Okay.
Feels very
Okay.
positive and energetic, and just a really happy experience, really, at least for me.
That's good. Tell me about your first experience doing it when you did it the first time. What was it like, and where'd you do it?
My first experience was I was really anxious. I was extremely, extremely anxious. But the first place I played at was Star Party in Sushi Fair. She was so nice and so sweet, and it really helped me performing my first show. And I guess at first I was really anxious, but then when I got on stage and I started playing, my anxiety kind of just slowly went away, and it got filled with excitement
Hmm.
and adrenaline.
Oh. So, was the experience what you thought it was when you before you did it the first time, or was it very different from what you expected it to be like?
I kind of expected it to be a little stressful, which in turns it kind of was sometimes, but only handedly before you go on, it would always be stressful, and then the stress would kind of go away when I'm playing. But as of what I thought it would be, yeah, it's pretty much about the same what I thought it'd be. A very fun experience.
Hmm. Well, I'm glad to hear that. How do you deal with the stress when you go up and perform in VR for people, may I ask?
Um, I don't really deal with my stress as much. I kind of just flail my arms back and forth as much as I can and spin around in a circle and hope that my stress will go away. Sometimes I'm sweating really, really badly, and I'm just like, I have to put the fan on, or I have to open my window. Uh, yeah, I just kind of let it froth up until I go up there, and then all that stress kind of just goes away as soon as I'm there.
Hmm. Okay. How long have you been DJing or performing your music for people in VR?
I think it's been about it'll be 2 years coming up, but by the end of this year, it'll be 2 years. So
Okay.
it's fairly been a longish time, but kind of still new.
Okay. What has kept you doing it for for the 2 years so far, and is it still stressful today?
I still have my moments of like stress and anxiety before I go up, but it usually kind of goes away. I guess what kept me going is meeting new people and trying out different genres of music I could play, and also learning new things along the way as well. I
Hmm.
could definitely say I was not the same DJ as when I first started. I've learned a lot more.
How much how much did you learn from VR that made you become a very different DJ for when you first started? What were those lessons as well?
Well, one of the biggest lessons was just actually DJing with this brick on my head. Having to look through the tiny little nose hole where my little DJ set was a little bit of a challenge at first, but over time I ended up getting used to it and remembering where my knobs were and feeling
Mm.
of where what I need to do. Oh, hand tracking. There we go.
Oh, okay. So was that an interesting thing to get used to, looking through the nose hole to DJ properly?
There'll be certain times where I will DJ on desktop mode sometimes,
Mm.
but I try to make it a habit of continuously DJing with the headset on so I can get used to it.
Hmm. I have seen various methods for people DJ for. I've Since I started interviewing DJs and the people in the club scene, I've kind of made a bit of an effort to go see things more. I've seen a lot of people do desktop and a lot of people do VR. And I also noticed with those who have like the Quest 3, for an example, they use pass through as well. Apparently, a lot of people enjoy that also.
Yep. It also helps with the Quest's hand tracking. Well, like I can put my hands to the side and let the light tracking configure where my hands are without me having to hold my controllers.
Okay. So, may I ask what headset that do you use?
I use the Quest 2.
Ah, okay. How is the Quest 2 when with what you do with DJing?
Um, so far it's pretty nice. I think the only thing I would have to say is wonky is the hand tracking just kind of does that every now and then, and it can be really well finicky and yeah, just it's just with the hand tracking in general can be very finicky. But other than that, I've been having a good time using this headset. So
Okay. So, I'm gonna ask another question that harps back to one of the reasons why you got into VR in the first place, which is the event you wanted to attend to. Was it worth diving into VR for, and what was it like?
absolutely, it was worth it. I originally went there to go see Ocean World, and I haven't been to like a concert in such a long time, especially when since COVID was around is when I kind of first started being in VR.
Mm.
It made that even more harder, so I just really wanted to go do something and enjoy it. So, yeah, it was absolutely worth getting this headset.
Hmm. So, how did going to see a show in VR, Ocean Party, as you mentioned, what was it like for you, like seeing them in VR versus like in a real life scenario?
Um, the fact that I could just be in my pajamas and still rock out to the DJs was just it. that was just everything for me. Not having to get all dressed up, having to worry about my surroundings, having to worry about finding someone to go with, or transportation, and all the things you have to do, and going to an IRL concert was just completely diminished by just putting a headset on, going to the world, and
Hmm.
listening to the music.
Hmm. So, would you prefer doing VR shows versus real life concert, or do you like both?
Um, I would prefer VR shows so much more. It feels so much more safer as well, especially to someone who's disabled. It just gives me a lot more opportunities to like be able to see things like this and not have to worry about the safety of being outside.
Hmm. So, is VR makes the whole experience of seeing shows more pleasant? Is also VR something you enjoy doing because you're disabled, mask? Because I don't know the experience of using VR in that sense, so I'm not trying to be rude there by asking.
Um, it's okay. I definitely do think it is a lot more helpful,
Mm,
especially with my disabilities. Especially with just meeting new people. I've always really struggled talking to people, and I don't know, for some reason it feels a lot more easier to talk
mm.
to people on VR. But I still get really shy and get really nervous talking to people. But I rather do it online.
Okay, I I can understand that. Has VR helped you at all in terms of speaking to people? Did it make things easier in real life at all?
Yes. It definitely has made it a little easier to talk to people. Especially sometimes with like public speaking as well. It's gonna a little bit easier. Words are still a little tricky for me. But yeah, it definitely has helped be a little bit more social.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that it's helped you become more social. I've heard quite a few stories where it has helped, and a few VR friends of mine who I met as mutes actually saw speaking and being more animated. And it's I've seen it's a very common thing for people to have that kind of effect with VR.
Yep, yep.
Hmm. So, so did you find yourself because when you first got your headset and speaking difficult for you with people, and was it what you expected initially?
Um, it was kind of hard to start speaking with people at first. I definitely was a mute. I didn't really talk as much. I would use like the pen to write a lot of the time back in the beginning. Uh, but over time, it kind of just, I don't know, it just kind of got easier. And I just one day just opened my mouth and kept talking. But there are still some times now where I still find myself being a mute and animating myself as being mute as well.
Understandable, to each their own. What made what made you want to be in speaking, may I ask?
Um, Trying new things, learning new things, doing things out of my comfort zone.
Hmm,
Uh, it's pretty much that. Just trying new things, really.
okay, I can understand that. What have been some things that you've pulled out from VR with your music and DJing? Is anything you've learned while you're here that has helped you, or you've did know prior?
Hmm. Uh, I guess would be just learning the different things of the art chat itself. Learning what you do with it, what you create with it. With my music specifically, just gathering like other inspiration from the other artists I meet, or learning new things from them. I don't know. It's been kind of a really long journey of just kind of a blended full things of learning. That
Mm.
sounded so weird.
It's it's a-okay. What have been some highlighted moments for you in VR, Mask, since you've been in, could be shows or anything like that? Anything that sticks to you?
Um, Definitely what sticks with me the most was the first show I did at Star Party. That'll always stay with me. And meeting my friends that I met
Mm.
on VRChat will forever stay with me as well.
Okay. What about what about those moments specifically that have them be something that will stay with you?
Um, I guess with the friend part itself, I've always struggled to find friends IRL, or at least really good, decent friends. And it seemed like the friends that I have met in VR chat have been the best friends I've ever had my entire life. And I wish I've met them IRL first, but I'm also okay with meeting them by online as well.
Hmm. So,
Um,
oh, no, you continue. I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
yeah, it was just an
Oh, it's okay. Do you feel like the friends you've met online have been some of the better friends you've made, and do you think online friends could be as good as friends in real life? Hello, just real quick. I'll only take a few seconds of your time. In the description that way, you have a card, metaversedegen.card.co. We have many links down there for you to come check out. We have an X link, which is with me. We have a Discord where we hang out and do stuff all the time, as well as a Patreon link, where if you wish to support us, you can. Where there's also a show and another podcast separate from Metaverse Degen, that which we have available to our wonderful members who signed up, such as Niche, Training Fangs, Aliquum, and Forbidden Zero. Thank you all. You're all amazing. Enjoy the rest of your video. I won't take up any of your time.
Yes, I definitely think that online friends can be good as IRL friends because you never know when you might meet your real, online friends and they can turn into being IRL friends.
Hmm.
So, I don't know. The friends made in VR chat just seem to be a lot more friendlier and a lot more easy to be able to approach, hang out with, be able to do things, find things to do, and hang out.
Okay. What about meeting people online makes it easier for you, may I ask?
Um, Probably the avatars, I think.
Okay.
It makes it a lot more comfortable talking to. For me personally, I get really anxious with like eye contact. So with a lot of avatars, when their eyes are just all over the place, not really on them person, it makes it a lot easier. But also talking to either a cartoon, an animal, an anime character, some random figure, I don't know, it just makes it so much easier to talk to.
Okay. I can understand that. So having that inhuman conversation makes it quite easier to speak with people. Okay. So how often do you play shows here in VR? Do you do a lot of them or do you do a few of them?
Kind of in between. I try to do as much as I can throughout the month, but I also try to pace myself so I'm not doing so much and overwhelming myself.
Okay. What have been some places that you enjoy playing for or with?
I really enjoyed playing at Igloo. The energy was really nice. The world is really nice. The owner is really nice. It was just a great environment. I really enjoyed playing at Star Party. I love Sushi Fairy. She's so nice. And I really enjoyed playing at Breakcore Takeover because I love Breakcore. Breakcore is my most favorite genre.
Mm.
And Graves was the most nicest person ever, and the vibes and the world were just beautiful.
Mm. Okay. So I take it you produce breakcore?
I'm mainly a breakcore musician, but I do make trance and drum and bass as well.
Okay. So, what is breakcore? Because I'm not sure I know personally. What is the difference between breakcore and trance?
Um, I guess for my definition of trance is that for trance, it makes you feel like you are on a beautiful journey that's very soothing. Sometimes can take you to very psychedelic places or just the most relaxing place that you can think of. And I really love the synthness of trance. I love synth.
Okay. And mask. Ooh, what is mask? What breakcore
There we
is?
go. Huh. There's definitely a few definitions of breakcore, but I definitely think it's a very emotional breakdown of a abrasive type of music that includes almond break. Uh, could usually be a very angry journey, a very sad journey, or sometimes a really confused journey. I
Mm,
usually associate it a lot with emotion compared to with like jungle. It I
mm,
don't know. It just seems like it's a lot more emotion behind breakcore.
mm. So, what makes you want to associate your music with emotions? May I ask? Is there anything specific about it that, or a reason why you do it?
Um, yeah, I sometimes have a very hard time expressing my emotion and telling people how I'm feeling, especially when it comes with my disability or with my own trauma. It's really, really hard for me to talk about it. So I do my best to implement my emotions into my music so I can try to give people some type of insight of what I either felt, had to go through, or what I'm currently struggling.
Mm, okay. Um, how does that usually take fruition in your music?
Um, I don't understand that question. Could you reword it for me,
Oh,
please? I'm
sorry.
sorry.
No. How would you normally portray those kinds of emotions or feelings in music?
Hmm. Sometimes my music can be very angry, kind of aggressive, and that could usually being told from my perspective of something that I'm dealing with that made me really angry and really frustrated that I just can't um that I can't just like get through. I guess for example was a very funny title for a song name, but it's called Laughing at My Pain. And I created that song because at a moment of my time, I was going through so much that all I could really do was just kind of laugh at it. I didn't know what else to do.
Mm, okay.
So I did my
Okay.
best to express that through that song.
All right. Um, how how long did it take you to write that song, and did it afterwards? Did you feel it portrayed that feeling well?
Um, let's see. Oh, it's been a while since I wrote that song. I think it took me about like a day or two to write it. And when I listened to it and I put it out, it definitely did portray those emotions that I needed. And every time I listen to it, I think back on when I made it, and I'm just like, wow, I was really going through a lot.
Hmm. Okay. Do you usually lean into music like that to help deal with emotions and all?
Yes, I am very creative with my emotions. A lot of my creatives are usually about either my disabilities or the trauma or just my life journey in general.
Hmm. Okay. Alrighty. So, what was the moment like that made you decide to make or produce music versus playing your traditional instruments?
Money, money, pretty much money. When I was finally like out of my own, like I was in foster care for a very long time. So when I finally aged out and I was on my own, trying to buy an instrument was almost near impossible for me. I always and still want to be able to own an upright bass, but the fact that they cost near almost $3,000, it's so disheartening. But then, along with the instrument maintenance and the upkeep, it just seemed impractical for me to have one compared to just doing it digitally. I either pay a one-time fee or I just buy the program outright. And I have such a large and extensive library of so many different types of instruments and sounds that I could create. It just made it made it seem very easy, especially for someone with like me on a really horrible budget of nothingness.
Okay. So what made you lean into like trance or breakcore versus something more traditional sounding?
I've always had a really fond uh feeling with music without words, music that takes you on journeys, music that's very calming. Um oh, I remember it was instrumentals. That was the name of the genre that I was thinking of earlier. I really love music that just has no words in it, I guess,
Hmm.
but
Okay.
also music that takes you on a journey.
Okay. What was some of the first songs or albums that you listened to that made you enjoy that kind of experience?
Um, One of my first albums that I really loved listening to that was instrumental was Explosions in the Sky. There is a song called Your Hand in Mine that I would have on repeat. Uh, the whole album that they had created, I remember the let's see what if I remember the name of the album was uh This Earth is Not a Cold Dead Place or something like that, but it was such a sweet, soft melody
Hmm.
that just was very calming, and I kinda stuck with that type of music along the way, but also making it, I guess, angrier and abrasive as well.
Okay. So do you find your one of the things I hear a lot from the various DJs and musicians here in VR chat is it opened them up to various other genres. Was there any other genres or things here that you felt inspired by or enjoyed during your time here in VR?
Um, yes, when I ended up playing at, Apple, I ended up learning about different forms of trance. I kinda just thought originally that your trance was trance, but then had simple, fusions of, like, EDM and drum and bass in it, but I ended up learning, that there were different versions of trance, like dream trance, side trance, and I it made me, a little bit more happier learning and playing the set because I felt like I was learning something. Well,
Hmm. So do you ever include any of those other types of elements into what you do or play at all, or do you stick with what you are comfortable with?
um, if actually, it's kind of a mix. Sometimes I stick to with what I'm comfortable with, but I'm not afraid to branch out and learn new things.
Hmm. Okay. What have been some things that you tried new because of VR, VR chat?
Um, Mixing house music was one of the first things I learned how to do, and I'm still struggling how to do it as well, but I'm I'm making slow progress. But it was definitely something new that I did learn. I did enjoy playing it and learning how to mix it as well. So that
Mm,
was definitely something I've learned.
okay. What about house makes it difficult for you to mix?
Um, I guess it being like mixing other people's music is a little harder for me because one, it's music I didn't really make. So I'm not really sure how to sometimes mix it into what I need to be.
Mm,
That's usually the problem that I have that it seems like when I'm mixing other people's music into the sets, makes it a little harder for me. But when I'm mixing my own music, I seem to be able to make it not have an issue, no problem.
okay. So whenever, let's say you do have a problem mixing it, how would you normally go about recovering from it?
Um, I try to look up inspirations. I try to look up other sets and see how maybe they mix their music. Sometimes I like to look up tutorials on how to mix certain genres to maybe learn something on my controller that I haven't known or something on my Serato that I could do differently. So that's usually how I try to get past those struggles when I'm struggling.
Okay. Let's say you're in the moment. What are some of the things you've used to recover from not mixing the tracks right or switching?
Um, Sometimes when I'm in the middle of it and I've accidentally mixed it wrong, I pray and hope nobody heard it and I continue on like it never happened.
Fair. Well, wh-
Yeah.
one of the things I would say is I think a lot of the time, whether performing or doing a form of art, the audience usually doesn't notice as many of the issues as you would notice the issues. So at least that's one of
Yep.
the brighter sides of everything. Hmm. So initially, when you started playing your music in VR, like whether you're doing DJ sets or playing your own music, initially, what did you think the experience would be like?
Sure how the experience would have turned out, but I was hoping that it would be at least a good experience. I know sometimes, like, I guess, like, some people have really bad experiences, and I would really hope that, my first time experience would be good and continue having a positive, experience and just a
Hmm.
positive time.
Okay. So, what have been some memorable sets or shows you've done that you enjoyed? You did.
Um, hmm, I guess some of the memorable sets that I have are the ones that I have in JST time, because usually at that time when I'm playing those shows, I'm up doing absolutely nothing.
Hmm.
So it's really nice being able to, I guess, find something to do at any time of the day on VR chat and be like, what is that word called? Proactive?
Okay.
I think that's the word I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Okay. So, were there any sets, or is there any venues in the JST time zone that you enjoy? Venues.
Um, I definitely did like the Outsiders event that Other
Hmm.
Moon hosts once a month. I really liked the crowd and everyone was really friendly and the owner is really sweet as well. So it was something that I really enjoyed.
Okay. Um, so last few questions before we begin wrapping up. One is, where did you get your name from?
Um, So my name, okay, what's Sayuri? My mom used to call me her little Sayuri from a movie called Memoirs of a Geisha. It's a really sad movie if you actually watch it. And me and my mom didn't really have the best relationship. So I, for some reason, kind of just took the name, kept it, made it my own. And on top of that, with pastel, I just have a really big love with pastel colors.
Okay.
So in the end, it just ended up being Sayuri Pastel.
Okay. And if anyone wishes to do what you do, what kind of advice would you give them? Making or producing or DJ?
Um, I guess with producing, I would definitely say to get to know your genres, pick a genre that you want to learn, and start with that. I guess like start small and make your way up. Take your time. Don't be too hard on yourself. And if it sounds bad, 100% sure it sounds amazing.
What makes you say that last one? If it sounds bad, then it sounds amazing.
Sometimes I definitely feel like you can be your own worst critic, and
Mm.
something that you might think might look absolutely horrible, another person might look at it and be like, no, this is beautiful. This is amazing.
Hmm. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Sayuri, for letting us get to know you. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you and getting to meet you. I very much appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Where can
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no big deal at all. Where can the audience find you if they wish to reach out and find you?
I am mainly in my Discord. I live in my Discord, so you can usually find me in there. My music is on Spotify, so you can also find my music on there or on YouTube as well. And if you want to catch me live, I do stream on Twitch Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 8 p.m. MST.
Okay. Well, everyone, thank you very much for joining us this wonderful evening. And I would close this off with a thing, but instead, I will pose a question. What was one of the first things that you've done that you're proud of? Let us know in the comments down below. We'll see you in the metaverse, folks.